Hello, I am Cédric Nicolas, CTO and founder of Finamatic. We have also Vincent, who is the more UX developer and designer and developer, and Jeremy, who is the lead developer in my team. Thanks everybody to listen to us. So what do we do? We are trying to help companies to manage their development and in particular their funding. So I will try to explain what we do. Getting funding is hard and expensive. The creators and the entrepreneurs are spending a lot of time on that. It's not easy, and it's always better to find money from your customers rather than public funding on external funders and external VCs, etc. But sometimes you have the need, in particular when you start a company. It's sometimes you have no money or little money, and you need to get funded. The market today is structured about some financing consultancies, where the business model is you pay a retainer of several thousands euros or dollars, and after you will give back to between 5% and 20% of the funds you got to the consultancies. The idea we had 2 years ago with our company is to completely break that model, because it's, for us, it's an old school way of doing business, and most of time it is not worth the value. I mean, if you leave 20% of the money you get, maybe that was not very good for you. The other point also is we know that 50% of the small companies are failing during the first 5 years for different reasons. But another interesting statistic is when those companies are supported by external advisors to get their funding and being correctly done, then that decreased to 34%. So that was the main reason is for our initial idea to set up this company. And this is here a typical financing roadmap for a startup. So you create a company, you just imagine you have very little money for that. So you get a sort of small loan for the founders. Then you may get a subsidy. Then you may get business angels in your with a capital increase. So this is private funding. Then after you grow, you may have some bigger loans. And once you have spent money in research and development, then you can get a tax exemption program from the government, like Crédit d'impôt recherche and other stuff like that. So it's a quite long process, and some of the process are also recurrent. Like here, each time you have a blue square here, you will get the money. So this is where we want to support our customers. It's all along that path, and it's quite complex. So the platform we decided to build, there is a technology behind this. You have, oh, I'm sorry, there is a little bug. There are mainly four features. So first we have a search engine, not exactly the same as Algolia, but among the available fundings in France today. You have to know that there are more than 1,500 possible public mechanisms to be funded. Most of them are regional ones, but you have also national ones. So this is the first feature we have. The second main feature is a collaborative form, dynamic form, that will help you to input all the required data that you must provide to submit such an application. We will talk about that later. And we have also an expertise and services on demand platform where you can select in-house or external consultants that we provide according to several needs you can have, like help me to do my business plan, or help me to build my deck, something like that, or analyze my business model. This has some required steps before being able to ask for funds. And at last, we also have generating PDF files that are required by the organism, by the funds provider. They require specific formalism for all those files. And so we have tried to abstract the customer from all that complexity. So they just have to input their data. They have all the help and examples to do that. And then we'll do all the back office process to generate the good files. The idea of Finamatic is to be in the center of an ecosystem where you have the funds provider, like public organism, banks, business angel, VCs, some experts, and so the knowledge to how to build all that, incubators, some partners, and other technology vendors to help companies just to go away along their life make their company grow. How to do that technically? So I personally developed the first release. I was alone during 6 months. And I started that in sort of prototype or proof of concept. But after some months after we launched commercially, we realized that we have to rewrite completely the platform in order to make it extensible and more with better performance. So that is the technical architecture that we have now. Of course, it is based on Node.js and on the back end, and the idea is now the full system is based on API, full REST API programming, and this allows us to connect the platform to very important modules. I mean, external service like the charging and billing service, as we act as a platform for making experts and consultancy to meet our customers. We need to have a billing system who is powerful for that. Then we have also the CRMs like HubSpot, Zendesk that are fully integrated. HubSpot is used for the pre-sales and the sales process. And Zendesk, of course, is after sales managing platform. And we have decided, we will explain you after, to take Vue.js as a client-side platform, and we rewrite everything. And now we are currently integrating other affiliation platform like this one. So of course, to build such a system, you must have a flexible architecture, flexible programming style, and that is why Jeremy set up with me when he joined the company more than 1 year ago. So why we decided to select Vue.js? Mainly, we effectively feel the need to completely rewrite the application after a few months of commercial usage. So it was first a request from our customers to have something more usable, more and also more performant. So we have evaluated between Angular 2, React, and Vue.js. At the end, we select Vue.js because we found that it was the best performance and for the simplest things to develop. I will let you the speech now to go into details.
Hello, everybody. I'm Vincent. So I'm a UX developer. It's part UX, part development. I'm self-taught also. I arrived in Finamatic to implement the new version of the application, the Vue.js application mainly. So one more thing about the choice of Vue.js is it's much more fun to develop with than most of the other frameworks we had. And it has a very small learning curve. So all the people that join us now can really dabble into the code, understand it clearly, and get coding with us quite rapidly. So Vue.js is mainly client-side. We use it for all our application, and we also use it in parts in our front end, which is different, which is Swig templating. It was the original application was all Swig and Node.js. And now, so we implemented all the application in Vue.js with Vue Router for the routing. Most of you know of the routing system of Vue. Vuetify, as the CSS framework. It's not only a CSS framework, it's a full-blown UI framework that's very intelligently made. It has a cherry pick options that allows us to use components wherever we like, and we can very easily change them and modify them and customize them. Axios is used for all the REST requests. So we have a full-blown API also. And the point is for now to use it in app and to make it accessible as soon as possible for externals also. It gets pretty interesting in the back end. So I'm not a specialist, Jeremy is, but everything is bundled and compiled with Webpack. So I'm going to show you a slide later on to really illustrate this. But all the JS, all the CSS are bundled by Webpack. There's a prod version, a dev version that allows us to go deeper into the debugs also. And it's certainly way faster than the old implementation that we have. File size and loading times are just down to divided. Sorry, I forgot the word. TypeScript as a standard, with a compiler via Webpack to ES5. It's the best way to control the code, to type it, of course. It's for all those who come from C or C++, it's very much in use also. Babel which compiles Vue to files itself, and Uglify.js and others for the minification, the bundle, the splits, the concats, and everything. So the aim was to have the fastest application that we could have with this framework for the loading times, of course, but also for all the reactivity that's in place. That's one of the main reasons we use Vue also for this. So I'm going to try to switch. So one of the first example is just a simple one. It's the versatility of Vue, of the users of Vue. It has a very small footprint. And we can actually just mix it with anything we like. Here we have capture of our front app, which is HTML and templating, Swig. But we inserted into this into this app, into this front, different small Vue applications to meet our needs. It was actually to bind the data, of course, to the front without having too much wiring to do. So for instance, well, this button is a Vue button. It's totally done in Vue. It's mounted into the application, and it gives us also the onboarding process here that's hidden by the login modal, which is only done in Vue also. It allows us to do the onboarding and translate all the data directly to the application. When the user is logged in, he has access immediately to the dashboard with all his data still in place. So we have an onboarding process, which allows us to gather the minimal information that we can gather about the user and his project, the state of his business, so that we can direct him directly as fast as possible to all the aids that exists. So we had different options to do that. We had server-side rendering with Node.js only if you can. And we also had Webpack and the way it is done here. I'm maybe gonna let Jeremy talk a little bit about this process here, because it's more technical than I know.
Okay. I'm Jeremy. So I will talk about this process. So in this case, we have a problem. The first time we created our homepage, we have an application bundled with Webpack. Webpack generate a JS file of nearly 10 megabytes. So it's very big problem for our homepage. So we find a solution. So we take the button connected here, which load a pop-up to connect with the application. This pop-up, we can easily load it with a simple way. So you create your button like before with a small ID and a very small script with init login. What this script does, it's a simple function will asynchronously load the whole component. So instead of having a JS file of 10 megabytes, we have one of less than 200 kilobytes. In this script, it's like any other Vue app. You have your new Vue app to construct, and you have one Vue application only for this button, and this button will load all the login form. So after that, you have another problem. When you log in, you always have 10 megabytes of JS to load. So even if the homepage is optimal, not the rest of the application. So we saw an opportunity with Vue 2.4. So here you can see how you create every route for your application. The easy way is to import every component you need, every page, everything you use in your client app. So your JavaScript will be very big after that. So it's a very simple way to asynchronously load the app. You just need to change small things. The import, you can change it with a lambda that return promises that will load all your app, your components or pages, as you can see here. It's just one component. Here you have one page completely easily loaded when the user click on this page. So the Webpack config don't very change, doesn't need to change. You always have your command string plugin that will create many more small JS files. You always have your uglify JS plugin that minify your JS. Always everything like before, even the small plugin that you can write to retrieve some JS file after Webpack has generated all the files. So you have only small problem for cache with your browsers. I think you already see that when you do an update of your production site, you have a small problem. Your users always have the older JS file in cache. A simple way to solve that, it's the chunk hash in a Webpack output. But now Webpack will generate files with a random hash. So you need to link this random hash to your file. So a simple way to do that, you can write a stat.json file in Webpack. It will have all the link between your files. So before any of those optimization, we have that. So what is this? So we have three JS files. The vendor file contains all third parties JavaScript. The home.js, the JS needed by our home, and the single page application, all the app. So the SAAS is just after Glyph.js. So you can see it's a lot of JavaScript. All of that is loaded directly when you arrive on our home. So you have every the component loaded, even if you only look the static page with features, a small application tour, everything like that. So you never click on the connected or in register or onboarding that use any of those components. And when you are logged in, you load all the application in one time. So it can be a good thing if you use all the application at this moment. But if you open one tab for 2 or 3 pages of the application, you load everything for nothing. So after that, we have a very good, a very better splitting of JS files. So now we have many files. As you can see, the single page application is always big because they use many different third-party components in different pages. So you can see the home pages, home JS files shrinked to only 132 kilobytes. And if you search it in this, it's difficult to find it. It's here. Before, it was very bigger, like you can see. Just here, it takes 1/3 of the places. And now it's only that. So what happens when you load our home page? If you click on only the page, the static page, you load only that. But if you want to log in, you will load also one part. I don't know exactly what, but I think it's certainly the thing. You load that in the moment you click on the connector on login. It's same for register or onboarding. And if you go to the single page application, so you need to load always 2 megabytes. It's not very good for now, but it's 2 megabytes unzipped. So when it's zipped, we can shrink down to something like 300 kilobytes. If you load the application, after you click in one or another page, you will load only one part of this page. So to alter the optimization, guaranteed use fast loading on page with all the power of Vue.js. for creating all our forms in HTML and our real-time communication with the backend instead of when you do that in jQuery or native JavaScript, what's a bit more difficult. So I will let Vincent to speak about another part.
The interface, I guess, right next. So as you see, we went through a process of downsizing and minifying and really making chunks of everything so that it can only be used in the places that we want it to be used. The most part of the application is the big part. It's only uniquely loaded if you log in. The whole rest of the service is really chunked into small pieces by Webpack. And it has really been really good for all the front. It loads way faster. So basically, our application is a real-time collaborative app. We encourage every founder to connect to the application and fill up one or more of these dossiers, which is all connected in real time with all the other users. So we don't actually see the other users here, but we can see that one is typing and is actually typing into the subject of the project. And we just see all the changes in real time. And the whole field is locked during this time so that we can interact part by part and not overlap. So every bit of these files are completely real time. We have different types of inputs, simple, basic textual inputs, as well as rich text and tables that can be edited as well in real time by different people at the same time. So I'm going to go through the view here. What we want to do is actually be able to lock some parts of the application while it is being worked on. We also want to use different kinds of fields in different dossiers en cours. Actually, you can see here that this user has different ed. How do you translate ed in English? Fundings, sorry. Fundings. And he can work on all of them separately. All the fields that are joined, that are used by each of them, will communicate with each other. You don't have to redo all the fields that you already done. Most of the time, when you have a project, when you have a business development, a big chunk of this data is fixed, and the other will vary according to the funding that you are asking. So we try to mimic that as well as possible. So this is a field that is locked by another user. He's actually typing. And every input, every change that we have for every field is logged into a history that we can actually revert to if we have the need to. And every field can be commented on by all the users currently filling up the form. So it allows us to have really a tight way of working. We will try more and more to make this app as easy to use for any kind of business users, even the novice ones, and those who don't know what to fill up will get access to helps also and examples. So all the data updates are filled here. All the field level comments are filled here. They actually appear on the side so that we can continue to browse. Comment? Oh yeah, I can show it. We will finish on that. Sorry. Not on Macron, yes. Yeah. Well, so this is the actual app. This is the prod one, and actually a bit different from the dev, but you can see.
customer as SAAS in that case, because we used our own app to get funding for us. That is the minimum that you can expect. So we have some 10 different products here, and you have to know that in that database there are, so I told that before, 1,600 different kind of products, and over 1,000 fields, unitary fields of data. This is one field, this is another field, etc. And you can see that you have help. Maybe on this one is not very, this one is very simple, but so on each field there are help and examples to help the user to understand what is required. And what was Vincent was talking about is you have comments, interactive comments on each field. So the idea here is really to have a collaborative tool to be able to build those applications easily with different people, because in most of time it is a founder of the company trying to lead that process, but he has no time, so he will ask to his CTO or his CFO or his accountant, external accountant, or any consultant outside to collaborate on the file. So that is the purpose of that, and that's why we built that platform. I think we finished here. Yeah. If you have any question, we are ready to answer. Thanks for attention.
Hi. You said that you choose Vue.js for the simplicity. So why do you have TypeScript and Babel at the same time?
Because we also like complexity. It's a tighter way to run a code chip. It's much more efficient to get a quality code.
Yeah, the point is that we were using TypeScript on the backend before. So of course we found it was maybe the best way is to have the same language on both sides. Also, okay. That's in one of the reasons. And TypeScript is a real progress compared to JavaScript, because it is a strongly typed language. The IDEs that you can use, like Visual Studio, are completely integrated, checking of the syntax and even some quite complex rule. So you have much less bugs once you develop with TypeScript rather than JavaScript.
But what do you use it for? I mean, do you only use it for type checking, or do you use it for classes also?
Yeah, for all that. For all
okay, so you use classes on the client side?
Yes, a bit, at least for the clients and model of data. Yes, of course. We have the benefit of it. Even now, as you have seen, we use also the promises in order to do asynchronous code on the client side in a, let's say, readable way.
Okay. You never tried Flow?
It's saying that it is less supported by the IDEs that we use.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other question?
Thank you. So you were talking about server-side rendering. Did you do any server-side on Node.js?
Interesting question. One of the point is we have here, if you go here, so this is a module to look for the products of financing, and here you have something here that you can have a sort of data on each financing product, which might be quite complex data. You can see here we have a bug. That is live. That is live. Nice. And that kind of page we have 1060, and of course there is a need for SEO purpose to have that kind of pages probably server-side rendered. For now, we still not did it, but it's a project. But it's quite complex because that data can change, and so the problem is when will you do the server rendering at will rate, etc. So that is still a project. But of course, we studied it.
So you mean this page is rendered client side?
It's rendered.
It's PDF.js.
completely dynamic. When we talk about server-side rendering, is to render static files in order to optimize the speed loading, and also to be able to have those pages easily indexed by the search engines.
Okay, so you want search engine to index those pages? I thought they were.
Yes.
They are public.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Allez, je tente. Il va y avoir des mots.
Hello. You talked about a bit about Axios. Sorry. I don't know Axios. What is advantages and drawbacks regarding Vue resource, for example?
The point is to have a simple way to do HTTP request. And if you use request.js, for example, the classical module, it's very complex. The API is very long. And also it's not very stable on some point. So Axios are a more modern way to make HTTP request. And it works client side very well. That's what I've understood, but it's my lead developer who choose that one. I would say it's a lightweight module to do HTTP requests. Thank you very much. Let's have a